Wow, this BYD public relations person is really something. He even got into the car to prevent the car owner from entering the 315 auto show to protect his rights.
March 15th was Consumer Rights Day in China, and Hangzhou City hosted a problematic car expo. There, a PR rep from Chinese automaker BYD sat in the passenger seat of a problematic car. When asked by reporters if they could drive into the event venue, the BYD vehicle owner did not respond to the request, but told the PR rep to get out of the car. Then the man drove away. Reporters made another attempt to contact the car owner, but their phone could not be reached.
It is said that at the Hangzhou Problematic Auto Show, more than 100 BYD cars were brought in with a complaint, but all the owners were persuaded to leave. The PR team must be amazing. Absolute thumbs up and praise. But I think the PR team must be very sad because its quality control and production quality teams are not strong enough. If the car was finished properly, they wouldn't have to work so hard. It's great that this March 15th event took place, otherwise it would be too difficult for us consumers to protect our rights.
During the Consumer Rights Protection Day on March 15th, the 13th annual Problematic Car Exhibition was held in Hangzhou. But does it really help car owners? Don't underestimate the Chinese domestic car companies' skills in saving face. The problematic car exhibition was expected to be lively, but car companies' reps outside the venue were even more active. When it comes to repairing cars, these companies are indifferent and dismissive. But in order to prevent a loss of reputation, major car companies put on their smiles and got creative. Since they couldn't solve the problems with the cars, they decided to work on the complaining car owners instead. At the expo, when the problematic brands were announced, the audience found that it was all foreign brands. Just when everyone thought that they could be proud of domestic Chinese brands, it was discovered that none of the domestic cars could be brought into the venue. They were all locked outside. Geely staff publicly seized and tore up the owner's information during the live broadcast, and even claimed afterwards that it was the driver's choice. Sherry manufacturers, in order to prevent owners from entering the venue, actually remotely locked the cars, shocking everyone. How dangerous would it be if this happened while driving? Videos from the scene showed that many car companies and 4S staff had arrived at the exhibition gate early. Some were responsible for filming the owners' license plates, some exchanged information about the owners, and others were responsible for monitoring at various intersections. There were even people studying the aerial view of the exhibition area, with clear division of labor and orderly cooperation. The Hangzhou Problematic Car Exhibition has been held more than a dozen times, and the car owners at the venue are very good at causing trouble. They make rhymes and hang banners. Bikini-clad girls flanking vehicles is a common sight. More extreme actions include slaughtering live chickens and throwing them on the car hoods. Interestingly, most of the cars filmed on site were luxury car brands from Germany: Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Audi. The 10 problematic car models and brands selected at the car show were also mostly foreign-funded or joint venture car companies. Even the list of disqualified car companies announced on the CCTV 315 Gala featured the transmission axle noise of BMW. Netizens said that ironically, CCTV 315 Gala decided to specifically highlight the transmission axle noise instead of exposing car manufacturers' tactics to escape responsibility for cars with defects. These include remotely locking cars, blocking cars from entering the show, including asking staff to lie down in front of the car, and tearing up auto certifications. According to data released by the organizers, more than 200 car owners signed up for this exhibition, with BYD drivers accounting for 100 of them. However, on the day of the event, not a single BYD vehicle entered the venue. So everyone says that BYD's public relations is really impressive. In the video, the man in red is the owner of a Geely car. He held up a torn-up document and told the onlookers how difficult it is for an ordinary consumer to protect his rights. The Geely owner bought a car with specifications that did not match what the dealer had promised. He believed that the manufacturer was involved in a sales fraud. After failing to resolve the issue through multiple attempts over more than a year, he brought his evidence to the problematic car exhibition. To his surprise, a representative of a Geely dealership snatched and tore up his evidence in front of everyone. In the video, a person in black can be seen running, with someone chasing after them, shouting, "Thief!" Other car owners at the scene helped the owner of the Geely vehicle retrieve the evidence and collect the fragments. The organizers quickly intervened and tracked down the dealership representative. However, the evidence had been irreversibly destroyed. Ultimately, after the host threatened to call the police, the Geely dealer returned the torn material to the owner. The car owner held up the torn piece of evidence and said,
I'm here to remind everyone that when picking up the car for inspection in the future, you must check the 3 certificates, including the Motor Vehicle Certificate, and Compulsory Product Certification Vehicle Conformity Certificate, and vehicle nameplates, etc. The main purpose of my coming today is to make this point. For a whole year, I've been asking the dealer to open the cover and check the battery pack. Now they won't cooperate.
Geely not only snatched documents, but also blockaded car owners at hotels. It was only after the car owners called the police that they were able to enter. The owner of a Geely Geometry suspected that he received a used car instead of a new one, so he drove the problematic car to protect his rights, but was blocked by Geely at the hotel entrance. He said in an interview,
I'm in a terrible mood. I couldn't imagine they would do such a thing. If there's a problem, solve it, right? Blocking the car is quite annoying. Blocking the car is not a way to solve the problem.
GAC Motor staff intercepted a problematic car and said to the owner, "Don't go in, I'll help you solve it." The car owner told reporters, "I don't believe him. It's useless. He can't handle it." The car company staff continued to try to prevent the owner from entering the venue. The owner replied, "If you wanted to solve it, you would have done it a long time ago. You've made me so angry. Don't give me useless excuses. I'm going in. This problem has been going on for too long." Subsequently, when the car company's staff saw reporters filming, they grabbed the reporter's phone. Chang'an staff, in order to prevent an owner from entering the venue, fell to the ground and played the victim. An owner of a Chang'an Shenlan came to the expo. A Chang'an staff member blocked the road, preventing the car owner from entering, and then fell to the ground. Video footage from the scene shows an exhibition staff member telling brand reps to move away from the vehicles. However, the car company's staff then deliberately pressed their body against the car owner's side mirror, saying, "Don't push me," and then fell to the ground. After falling, they repeatedly said, "Why are you pushing me?" This exhibition exposed the true faces of various car companies. They blocked drivers, tore up documents, and even faked being knocked down. BYD, Geely, and Chang'an each showed their tactics, but none were as blatant as Sherry. This Sherry car owner was remotely locked out by Sherry's staff. He told the host at the problematic car expo,
I stepped on the brakes and the car stopped for a moment, but then suddenly accelerated again, and the impact pushed the car in front of me more than 10 meters. Yesterday, Cherry heard that I was coming, so they called me through an intermediary and told me not to let me come to the exhibition. After I refused, when I drove the car over, the engine was locked and the car could not start.
After the incident went viral, opinions abounded online. Sherry responded that its cars do not have remote locking functions. So, do Chinese-made smart cars indeed have remote locking functions? In fact, in 2023, cars from brands such as Li Auto and Geely became well-known online for the remote locking. A staff member of a repair shop said,
Li Auto has been on the hot search again in the past 2 days. This latest Li L9 was brought to us for repair. I didn't even dare to accuse the dealer, and I was afraid of being sued by him. This car owner had a new car, and before the customer had a chance to buy damage insurance, it crashed on the road. A set of front airbags came out, but the customer said he didn't want the car anymore and sold the car to a repair shop. In order to save money, the repair shop replaced the front bumper, water tank frame, water tank, and airbag. As a result, Li Motors' monitoring backend said that because the owner didn't go to the authorized dealer for repair, they remotely locked the car. In other words, a car worth 400,000 to 500,000 yuan is like a pile of scrap metal sitting here and cannot be driven even if you want to. The car owner later went to the Li Auto 4S store and asked if he could help unlock the car. The staff at the 4S store said, "I'm sorry, you had to dismantle everything you replaced and replace it with a new set according to the specifications."
The repair shop owner mentioned that the official quote far exceeded the value of the car. After he brought the car to the dealership, he found that the battery had been tampered with. After this incident became a hot topic, Li Auto called it a rumor. In a statement, Li Auto said that without user authorization, they would not arbitrarily access user data to remotely lock cars. Netizens commented that this proves Li Auto has such a function, allowing them to remotely control your car at any time. This is exactly what consumers are concerned about, whether car manufacturers have the right to control users' vehicles. The enraged man in the video bought a Geely electric car for over 10,000 yuan to use for ride-hailing services. However, after 3 months, he found that the car wouldn't charge. When he asked customer service, he was told that the charging port had been remotely locked by the manufacturer. To use it normally, he had to pay a monthly battery rental fee of 800 yuan. When he went to the 4S store to demand an explanation, they were very arrogant, saying that what he bought was only the right to use the vehicle and the ownership of the battery remained with them. If he wanted to continue using the car, he had to sign a rental contract. Otherwise, he would expect his car to turn into a pile of scrap metal. Some Geely car owners sought help from the Dongchedi help platform, complaining that all the owners of ride-hailing vehicles that had purchased the battery swapping mode in Yunnan were being asked by the manufacturer to pay 50,000 yuan each to buy out the battery because the manufacturer was unable to fulfill its earlier promise to build battery swapping stations. After refusing, all their charging ports were remotely locked, making it impossible for them to charge and operate their vehicles. The host on the online platform called the manufacturer and asked,
2 questions. First, you couldn't complete the previous battery replacement mode yourself. How much money do you ask others to make up for it? Second, who allowed your manufacturer to leave a function in the background that can close the user's charging port? Are you involved in user privacy? Who gave you the right? If the manufacturer sells a car to someone else, the car already belongs to someone else. So what gives the seller the right to lock the car?
The manufacturer could not answer. The program host said,
Friends, let me tell you that many new energy vehicle manufacturers now have a button in the back end. This button can lock your charging port, paralyze your car, or lock you out.
His co-host remarked, I think this is what everyone is most afraid of, having their cars controlled by the manufacturer. One netizen commented, I am a Geely Maple Leaf owner in Hefei. A few days ago, owners in Hefei City suddenly had their charging ports locked. It's too terrifying. Another netizen from Taizhou, Zhejiang, also reported charging ports being locked. Many netizens expressed that domestic new energy vehicles can remotely lock users' cars, and there are even cases where users have been locked out on highways due to delayed loan repayments. Buying a car in full, but the remote control is in somebody else's hands. China's domestic new energy vehicles are like religious products. You can't question them. If there are problems, you have to solve them yourself. Patriotism comes first. This blogger said,
Guys, can you imagine that there's someone other than you who can remotely lock or start your car? It's not hackers, but car manufacturers. So how does a manufacturer explain that it can remotely lock other people's cars? What they say is that we are preventing mortgage owners from defaulting on their payments. If car owners fail to repay their mortgages, we will lock their cars to force them to repay their mortgages. Does that mean it's okay if I pay full price for the car? Of course not. The cars sold by the manufacturers are all the same, and the back-end systems and functions are also the same. As long as he can lock the mortgaged car, he can lock the fully paid car if he wants to. Does a manufacturer have the power to have such a function in the background? In my opinion, no. I have bought the car and it's mine. Why do you have a function in the background that can control my car at any time? What power do you have? Let's say your system crashes or is attacked one day, and then this function is triggered. Will all cars across a country be locked? If the car is locked while we are driving, who is responsible for our safety? You must not tell me that the probability is very low and it can't happen. If you secretly leave such a function in the background, it is wrong. And the scariest thing is that you can't even find a button in your car that tells you whether you authorize it to be remotely controlled. It means you have no choice. When you buy this car, you assume you can be controlled remotely by them. The manufacturer presses a button and your car is locked.
Privacy for Chinese people does not exist. However, being remotely locked out is not just about privacy. It has also raised alarm in many countries, and as a result, they may completely block China's new energy vehicles from the global market. U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo pointed out in an interview that vehicles connected to China pose a serious security threat to the United States. She said, Imagine if there were thousands or hundreds of thousands of Chinese-connected vehicles on American roads that could be immediately and simultaneously disabled by somebody in Beijing. Raimondo stated that today's smart cars can know everything about the driver, including their location, destination, and conversations with family and doctors, and some biometric information. She said, today's cars are like iPhones with wheels. Raimondo added, imagine a world in which there are millions of cars, Chinese cars on U.S. roads, collecting this data every minute of every day on millions of Americans and sending that back to Beijing. That's terrifying. Raimondo said, imagine if there were thousands or hundreds of thousands of Chinese-connected vehicles on American roads that could be immediately and simultaneously disabled by somebody in Beijing. At the end of the day, we must protect the American people from the threat that China poses. The Biden administration has just instructed the U.S. Department of Commerce to investigate whether Chinese-made smart cars pose a national security threat to the United States. The U.S. may impose restrictions on networked smart cars. Secretary of Commerce Raimondo's remarks have prompted a furious response from the Chinese Communist Party. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying posted on X on March 3rd to counter-accuse the United States. She posted, "The iPhone is an American product. Are you suggesting that iPhones, Teslas, and even Boeing are constantly transmitting confidential data back to the United States and could be shut down by Washington at any time?" X platform is one of the Western social media platforms banned in China, and ordinary Chinese people need to break the firewall to see and use it. Another Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Mao Ning, accused Raimondo's remarks of being a false narrative. She also used Hua Chunying's logic to counter-accuse the United States, saying, shouldn't China be more concerned that Washington can make hundreds of millions of Apple phones owned by Chinese users and send that information back to the United States and even black out at the same time? What Hua Chunying and Mao Ning did not tell the Chinese people is that China is a dictatorship ruled by the Chinese Communist Party, and all companies must obey the CCP. In contrast, the United States and Western countries have normal democratic elections and government changes, as well as free business and free economies, without any company being required to obey a government or party. In a statement on February 29th, President Biden said that the Chinese Communist Party is determined to dominate the future of the automobile market, including taking unfair actions. China's policies may flood the U.S. market with its vehicles, posing a risk to U.S. national security. Biden and other U.S. officials have also pointed out that China has imposed extensive restrictions on U.S. automobiles and other foreign vehicles.